Today we are going to be talking about it. So, this is probably one of the biggest books that I've ever read. It's over 1,400 pages. It is a very long book, and you do have to kind of push yourself to keep going, but it's so good. I've read this book probably 4 times now, and every time I find new little things. Like this last time I read it, I realized that there might be a connection to Green Mile and possibly Salem's Lot, which is super fun. Like I love that the Stephen King universe, it is mentioned in a lot of books. So it made references to Dreamcatcher, Insomnia, and then most likely Green Mile, possibly Salem's Lot. I gotta look. Like, it's so fun. And then there's been books that have referenced this. It also references The Shining, and then Misery referenced it, which is super fun. So, two things that I don't love about it. The first one is just the use of the N-word. It's so much. I get it. Like, Henry Bowers is awful, and Butch Bowers is awful. But, like, oh my god, there's so many N-words in it, and it just kind of sucks. Because the next thing that I don't love is the child sex scene. To me, it's not needed. I get where he was trying to come from. I feel like it's uncomfortable, and you could have done it, like, you could have given the representation and the idea of what he was wanting in my opinion, a lot of different ways, and you didn't need that. Those are like my 2 biggest gripes. But my pros of the book, I love the storytelling. I love the backstory. I wish there was a little more, like the settlers who just randomly disappear. I wish you could get more. I understand why. Obviously, there was no one that lived through that time, so Mike can't interview anyone that actually knows what's going on and can be like, yeah, this definitely happened. But I really like the backstory and all of the like different ways that Pennywise influences everyone through the different times. I think that's very fun and it's interesting to read. I'm so excited for the possibility of an It series. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited, and I hope they give us all the backstory. Like I want to know like about the settlers, like I said. I would love to see the turtle throwing up Pennywise, like all of it. I want it all. Now, comparing this to the movie, I feel like the movie with Tim Curry and the movie with Bill Skarsgård are both really good. I will say I prefer the newer one just because I think it is a little less cheesy and I feel like it's actually a good horror movie. The old one with Tim Curry, there are parts that still get me, that I'm like, ooh. And it is still a good movie. It is a little cheesy. And it's not quite as scary as the newer one. The new one with Stan and the spider head, oh my god, I hate that part. That part gets me. Whereas the old one, there's scenes that are like, ooh. Like the part where the skeleton tries to pull Ben into the like bog or swamp, whatever, the barrens. That part's kind of creepy, but it's not that creepy. So the new one I prefer for sure, but I think they're both really good. It was interesting to watch them both, like watch the new one and then I watched the old one with my husband, and it was interesting to see him because he was like, oh, the old one kind of goes more like from what you said, what the book does. Whereas the new one, they interpret and changed quite a bit. And so that was interesting. So if you're wanting a movie that goes really close to the book and tries to really follow the book, I think the older one with Tim Curry is a good one. If you are wanting one that is very thrilling and very scary, has a lot of jump scares, and just a very fun ride, but like it's loosely based on the book, I think the newer one. I think they're both really good and they're both entertaining. I will say they don't do the book justice. There's so much that you miss. And like with Pennywise's backstory, they'll give like little Easter eggs each movie, but there's so much that is detailed in the book. Like, oh, the loggers, you don't get any of that. Like the way he influences the adults, you miss that. And just the devastation that Pennywise actually brings. I don't think any of the movies could actually touch it because there's so much and it's awful. It's so awful. Like Eddie Cochran, that poor baby. And the creature of the Black Lagoon part. And then his little brother. That part makes me cry. Like, it's so sad with his little brother and their stepdad. I hate that part. And then I was reading it again, and I must have totally just blocked this out because I hated it when I read it. There is a 2-year-old baby that Pennywise gets, and it's brutal. Like, everything that happens to that poor baby in a matter of like 5 minutes, like, it's insane, and it's so descriptive, and it's so graphic, and like, it sucks to read it. So I'm like, I must have just blocked that out because I did not remember that. Because if I had, I probably would have skipped. But other than the really depressing stuff, this is a good book. It is worth the read if you like scary stuff and you don't mind a lot of gore. There are going to be parts where you got to push through because they're not great and they just make you sad. But like, it is a really good story. And the fact that Stephen King was able to piece together like just such a crazy plot, it's wild. I will say it is a little hard sometimes when you're reading this because it shifts narrative a lot and it's also shifting timelines. So there's past and then there's present and then it narrates between all of the kids, and then at some points like there's a little narration for Pennywise, I believe, and then there's a little bit for some of the like, you know, other characters that don't really matter as much. So there's a lot of narration flipping throughout the book. It's not too bad, but it sometimes does get a little confusing, and sometimes you have to go, wait, who is this again that's narrating now? But overall, I think it's a really good book. If you like Stephen King, if you like scary, I would recommend it. I think this is probably one of my favorite books of Stephen King, just because I like scary. But yeah, so that's my book review. I think the movies are great. I think if you're going to do, like if you're going to read the book, I think you should watch the movies first. And I'd probably watch the Tim Curry one, then the Bill Skarsgård one, and then I'd read the book. Just that way you can kind of get the like least favorite of mine out and then get the really good ones. But either way you did it, I just think watch the movie first, otherwise you will be disappointed. All right, thank you so much. Bye.